Specific reason I'm here is to talk about your plans for ABC privatization, which I've seen as your signature issue since you were campaigning last year. The first question I've got is a number of other states are considering doing the same thing,
Right.
Washington, Georgia, New Hampshire. Have you conferred with any other governors or leaders from those states to talk about the transition process from control state to a free market state?
Our team has been working for 4 or 5 months talking to legislators, talking to people in the industry, looking at the best practices from other states to try to find out what's the best model for us to use in Virginia. Since Prohibition was repealed almost 80 years ago, 32 states have adopted a private system of distribution of alcohol. Only 18 states, including Virginia, are left with the control state. So we've got some things that we've learned about from other states. I've not talked to other governors. We've just looked at the experience and trying to fit what's right for Virginia. And so it is one of hundreds of issues that we hope to address in a government reform special session. It is one that's got a little bit more profile because it's a fairly significant systematic change. We think it'll generate maybe $500 million for transportation, which is something we need. And it's getting the government out of the business of alcohol distribution, which I don't think it needs to be. And we've done beer and wine this way for 70 years. We can certainly do distilled spirits. So I think it's a win-win. Get the private sector making economies of scale. And I think it's the right thing to do.
Well, speaking of beer and wine, it appears that one of the opponents to privatization may be groups like the beer wholesalers. What do you say to business leaders who pay lip service to the free market but try to leverage government action in order to benefit themselves at the expense of consumers and their competitors?
We think that once the proposal is announced and we're close to making that decision on exactly what the right mechanics are, it will then go to my Government Reform Commission. That's why I'm here in Roanoke tonight, to hear from people about some of the ideas that have already been outlined and find ways to make government work better, more efficiently, less costly, more innovation, more technology. That's the whole goal of government reform. And once we have the proposal in place, I think it will address some of the concerns that people have. Everything from not taking money from the general fund, no more increase in crime in a control state versus a private state. I think it maximizes the competition to reduce price, increase quality, increase convenience. I think everybody will have a fair shake at getting a distribution license. We'll still have strong enforcement of the rules. It'll just be done by a private vendor, not by a government monopoly. So I think we're going to be able to address most concerns, but at the end of the day, if people think that somehow this privatization might not be good for their business, then maybe they'll still be opposed to it. But we're going to knock down most of the opposition, I believe.
Well, among those, I've noticed that there's opposition from Southside Virginia, and in particular from one state senator who represents the largest moonshine area in the mid-Atlantic. It's a classic example of Baptists and bootleggers combining together. Do you think that by privatizing the ABC stores we'll be able to combat that kind of illegal liquor trade?
That's an interesting point that we haven't talked about internally yet, about what it does to the illegal production of alcohol. That was more of a problem 60, 70, 80, 90 years ago than it is today in Virginia. But I'm a strong believer in the free market and market forces, increasing competition, reducing price, increasing quality, and taking care of a lot of the ills that a government and a monopoly might have. So it may have an effect on that. That's not the reason we're doing it, but if that's one of the byproducts of it, then that's another good thing.
Final specific question. Do you think that the proposals you've got brewing right now will result in more job creation?
I do. We want to make sure we have 2,500 employees right now that work in the state system for ABC. We think they're good employees. Part of the proposal that we'll be making will be a way to have them taken care of so that the private sector vendors that would begin the distribution after they bid or purchase a license will have every incentive to try to hire the government workers. And it's obvious. I mean, they're trained, they know the system. No sense in starting over by having somebody new that needs to be trained. So we think that's going to be something we'll take care of. The biggest benefit, honestly, just a practical consideration, is that this will generate, we believe, as much as $500 million or more for transportation. I think over the last couple of years there's been a lot of discussion about transportation. and many proposals have failed. This is one that uses the free market, gets the government out of business, smaller government, more competition, and generates $500 million for transportation. To me, that's a win-win, and I think is one of the biggest reasons that I think we'll have public support for the idea.
That sounds great. Any final thoughts, things we haven't touched on right now?
Yeah, I think although we're going to talk about ABC privatization tonight, these town halls are far broader than this. This is the first of 8 that I'm doing this month. To get out now that we've finished a lot of the business of the General Assembly and got the budget a little bit more squared away with a couple $100 million surplus. We've got job creation up and running pretty well. 3rd largest job creator over the last 6 months in America, with Virginia 72,000 jobs. Made a lot of appointments. So now it's time for me to get out and listen again in an extensive way. We're going to be doing that a lot the next couple months to citizens. So many of the good ideas that government enacts come from the citizen, who looks at government, figures out what's wrong with it, and makes a suggestion to the governor or the legislator. So that's the purpose of it. We've gotten 300 or 400 ideas already with the Government Reform Commission that are being looked at on how to be more innovative and efficient in government. One of the ideas is ABC, but there's hundreds of others. And so what I'm hoping to hear tonight from the citizens is what's the problem with state government that you see? We know we're spending too much money. We know the federal government spending is out of control. So what do you have that you can offer us that we can take into account to make government work better, more effectively, more efficiently for less cost? And I hope we'll get some good ideas that I can take back to Richmond and put into the care of the Government Reform Commission and come out with some good policy ideas.
Yeah, I understand there's a website people can go to make suggestions.
There is. What is that website?